Hi everybody, Suzanne Ullman here, heart failure nurse in San Antonio, Texas. Originally from Nebraska, went to college in Minnesota, thus I'm wearing a twins hat. Plus my aunt and uncle, my brother, and some of my absolute soul friends live in the Twin Ciudades. Let's talk about anxiety, because I was thinking today that there has never been a time in recorded history that we know of where there has been such a global, collective, connective angst. And it is playing out in every single one of our bodies. I mean, we can talk about the world wars, but in the world wars, there was no tweeting, there was no social media, and there were people that would censor letters. So my grandpa was on a Navy ship out in the Pacific Theater, and my grandma and he exchanged letters, but it wasn't like real time, guess I have diarrhea and now I've been diagnosed with the virus of the pandemic type stuff. So it is affecting us on a cellular level. And so I want to talk about symptoms, okay? Some of you are very familiar with this. Some of you are familiar with this, but haven't ingested that it's actually happening to you, and I get that. There's so much stigma with our mental health, and there's so much of us, no matter what subculture in which you were raised, that wants to deny that you're suffering. And you just don't have to, okay? It's totally understood that you would. I grew up Lutheran, and we're all just fine. Thanks for your concern. That's sort of our motto. We know we're taught compassion, but we're not going to show it to ourselves. Okay, so number one, racing thoughts. Number two, sleep changes. So can't sleep, insomnia, or sleeping all the time. Number three, diet changes, no appetite, or craving foods that you don't normally crave, or having a normal appetite, but everything you eat turns your stomach. It can slow things down into a place of constipation. It can speed things up to just a spastic diarrhea. Your gut has a mind of its own, literally. It has nervous system cells in it. That's why we talk about butterflies in our stomach, or he was so nervous he shit his pants. Sorry for swearing, Mom. So, we've talked about sleep, we've talked about racing thoughts, we've talked about diet, craving, no appetite, loss of appetite, constipation, diarrhea. You can feel temperature changes, which is of course completely overwhelming right now because we're all worried we have a fever. Emotional lability, labile emotions. That means lability, labile emotions. That means they're up and down, up and down. It's like the kindergarten game, red light, green light. So sometimes these things come and go throughout a day. Sometimes they come and go throughout a week. For a lot of people, they're happening every day and on off most of the day. And what I tell my patients is if you're experiencing disturbances like this for more than 3 days in a row, you might want to say it out loud to a family member. And then you might want to say it out loud even more to a medical professional. There's been no better time to call your doctor than now because they're doing all of their doctoring over the phone. So you don't even need to meet the medical assistant in the office who's going to take your vitals and make you say out loud while you're there, which is that you can't sleep and you're depressed. Okay? The last thing I want to tell you is for decades now, there have been medications that help when there is a shift in your mental health that puts you in a state of anxiety, depression, or a little bit in between. I myself have been on and off of these medications for my entire adult life. And without them, I probably wouldn't have been able to finish college. And I wouldn't have gotten through the summer of 2017, which is when one of my husband's peers died in a fire. And I was unable to sleep, eat, focus, do my job, help patients, because I felt like I was inside that fire trying to save my husband. Now, my husband wasn't at the fire. He was on shift, and we were in pretty consistent text communication, but my body responded after the trauma and in anticipation of worse trauma, which is what all of us are probably doing right now on some level. We maybe don't know anybody with COVID. We may not get COVID for a long time or ever. We may not lose someone from COVID, but all we hear about is COVID, trauma, and devastation. And so our bodies are anticipating that kind of thing, which puts us in this anxious stress response. Say it out loud. Talk to your family. Talk to your doctor if you need to. Feel free to ask questions on the post. And know that there should be no shame about you reacting in this absolutely unique and angst-ridden time. Talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.